Welcome back to another beautiful day in the land of music. My name is Douglas, and in today's video, I'm going to walk you through selecting and playing sounds on the Nord Stage 4. You might be saying, well, that's kind of self-explanatory, but if you're brand new to the Nord Stage 4 and brand new to Nords especially, the way that you go about selecting and picking sounds can be a little bit confusing at times. So we're going to jump right into it, and I'm going to show you 3 main ways to pick sounds, and I'm going to play you some sounds in the process. The first way we're going to talk about selecting sounds is using programs and selecting programs. When you first turn your Nord Stage 4 on, it's going to load up to the last program you played, or if you just bought it and you're turning it on for the first time, it's probably going to be this A11 program right here. Now we can tell what bank and program number it is by the main screen right here in the center of our keyboard. The A represents the bank, so there's 8 banks of programs on the Nord Stage 4. Within each bank, we can have 8 pages, and within each page, we can have 8 programs. So lots of room and space to put stuff. There are a ton of factory programs that come with the Nord Stage 4. I believe it fills up the first 6 banks. And then there's 2 empty banks for you to save your own programs too. So think of a program as almost like a saved copy of your entire keyboard. All of the different sound sections, layers, splits, effects, tweaks you've made to the sound all get saved to a single program. And we can scroll through our programs with this encoder, and you'll notice it's scrolling through the programs on my screen. It changes, you'll see the lights change and everything like that because it's calling up each time I change programs, it's calling up a whole new set of sounds, layers, splits that have been saved for that program. We can also scroll through our programs in a list view. So if we hold Shift and then we scroll the encoder, we get a list. We can let go of Shift and then we can scroll through that list. We can also press down on the categories, hold that and scroll, and our programs are categorized. So if we wanted to play some choirs, we can go and let go of category and it goes back to the list of programs. Let's go with soft vocal. And then all we have to do to exit out of this is just press Shift. So as soon as you scroll through that list, it's going to call up those programs. And then we have our soft vocal here. And again, we could come back, Shift, hold, and then scroll through our other choir vocals so it remembered the category that we selected when we picked the category. Let's choose another category. Let's go into bass. And we can scroll through our basses. We don't have to exit. We can sample these as we scroll through them. Maybe we try an upright bass. And if we want to exit out of that, let's bring us back to our main screen here. Now beneath the encoder, we have these 2 forward and back buttons. Now these do 2 things. So if we don't hold Shift and we just tap on these, it's going to move between the pages within our bank. And if we move to the last page, it'll jump to the first page of the next bank. And so we can scroll through our pages. And you'll notice each one of these is some sounds, different effects, and they're all compiled into these programs. Now, let's say we want to jump banks. So we want to go from bank E all the way back to bank B. We can do this quickly by holding Shift and then using those same backwards and forwards buttons to jump banks. So now we're in B11. you'll notice what I did there is I used the modulation wheel. So a part of these programs is this morph assign functionality that allows different parameters to be tied to our modulation wheel in this case. So you'll see if I play this, it brings in a little bit of a synth sound behind that electric piano. So pretty cool stuff. We can jump banks again by holding shift. Using the back and forward buttons, we can jump pages by just using the back and forth, and then we can scroll through the individual programs with our encoder. Now, one last thing here is within a page, we have 8 programs. And notice as I scroll, the light on my 8 buttons below my screen moves. And what that's doing is I can also use these buttons to call up the 8 programs within the page. So again, I can scroll with the encoder, but I can also use page, shift to do banks, and then within each page, I can quickly select sounds or programs with these 8 buttons here. What's really cool about this is I could set up some banks and pages and programs and lay them out for, let's say, my set for a concert I'm doing. And then I can just tap through here or use my triple pedal to move up and down the programs with my foot pedal rather than needing to reach up. Really cool stuff. We had some arpeggiators built into that program. So the first way to pick sounds is to scroll through the programs and pick those. But let's say that we want to build a sound from scratch and we want to go in and pick a flute or a certain piano or maybe a string sound. What we can do is we can use the preset library to give us a jump start in selecting sounds. So let's go ahead and initialize the keyboard by holding shift and tapping on the button with a layer init labeled below it. It's going to ask us what we want to initialize, and we're going to say all. What that's going to do is it's just going to reset the keyboard back to a white grand. So, simple white grand. If we don't want to hear any sound, we just turn the entire sections off. These on-off buttons above there allow us to do that really quickly. So let's go in and turn, let's say, the synth section on. So this is just a shape saw in the analog synth section. So what we can do now is our second way to choose sounds is rather than building something right from scratch with the synth engine, we can go into our preset library. Now think of presets as almost a subset of a program. A program is saving everything. A preset is saving only what's in a certain section along with the applicable effects. So if we tap on our preset library for the synth button, now we can scroll through our synth presets. And what these are different presets that have been saved of just the synth engine. You'll notice this changes as I scroll through here. I can sample these as I scroll through them. Now you'll notice with the synth presets, as I scroll through them, it cuts the sound. So we don't have seamless transitions as we're scrolling through the presets, but once we pick them and we're back on our programs, then as we scroll through our programs, we have seamless transitions so it doesn't cut the effects of the previous one. It just goes seamlessly into the next sound. So now if we want to select this and bring this into our synth section here, all we have to do is either tap the synth button again or tap on the shift exit. If for some reason we don't want to overwrite what was already there and we were just kind of messing around, we can hit this 4, which aligns to the cancel button, and that just brings us back to whatever we previously had selected in our synth section. But let's say we want to choose evolving squares. I'm just going to tap on shift exit, and that brings evolving squares, all of its effects, into my synth section. Now let's say I want to add like a really nice soft upright sound to this, or some sort of upright sound to this synth sound that I've selected here in my synth section. Now I could turn the piano section on, I could build one from scratch, or I could just go into my preset library for pianos. Maybe I want to choose a category, so I can hold down on the 3 button, which aligns to the category button on the screen. And then I can go here and choose upright as my piano. I could scroll through these. Again, it's not messing up what's already selected in my synth section because I am only in my piano preset. So let's come over here to an atmospheric upright. Now, of course, with the Nord Stage 4, we have all of our faders for our layers. So as you could see there, I felt like the synth was a little too much, so I brought that down. And what's really cool is now I can just exit out of this because I picked my atmospheric piano, and I've already started to build a sound with the synth sound I want, the piano sound I want, and then maybe I just go ahead and I just do some additional tweaks. So on the piano, let's say I want to change and add a little bit of reverb to this. We're going to come down and do a little bit of the cloud reverb. Super powerful. Now, the last way that you can pick sounds is by selecting the actual sample behind one of our layers. So, for example, we've got this sound called up, right, where we've got our synth sound, we've got our piano sound. But let's say that we want to swap out a sound on one of our layers, or we want to just build a program from scratch. To swap it out, all you do is hit the layer that you want to change the sound on. So you'll see it blinks in orange. If I move to the second layer, that blinks in orange. So the settings I change here are going to affect whichever layer is blinking. So let's say on this one here, and we could solo this layer very easily with this solo button. So I can hear just what's on this one piano layer. Let's say I want to switch that for a different piano sound. So in the piano select here, I can choose a different category. Maybe I want to go with a grand, the Royal Grand 3D. We can use the encoder to select the samples or the sounds within that category. And then we could turn solo off and hear how this sounds with our whole program. And then let's say we want to build a sound from scratch. We want to build a program. Let's do that layer initialize again. Hold Shift, layer init all. Again, we're back to that white grand. Jumped keys a little bit on that one. So we want to change just the piano sound. So we've initialized, we want to build a program from scratch. Let's come over here and we can do the same thing. Now this applies to any one of these sections. If I turn the synth on and I turn the piano off, I can change the settings within here and start to build a sound from scratch. Back over on the organ section, I could change the type. And then on the piano section, let's say we've got the white grand. And maybe I want to swap that for an electric piano. All I do is go into the category, go to electric. Now notice there's no effects or anything like that, so if we wanted to bring a little bit of reverb in there, an easy way to switch the sounds or swap out sounds is just by going to that layer and changing the sounds and the parameters. Really easy. So just a quick recap. The first method we went over is choosing programs. Every program you switch calls up a whole new set of sounds, effects, layers, splits, all of that saved into a single program. The second way was we initialized the keyboard and then we picked a pre-built sound for the section by using the preset library. And then the last was within the section, swapping out or picking a sound specific to a layer within our section. So hopefully that's helpful for you if you just got the Nord Stage 4 and you're just trying to figure out, how do I get to a flute? Let's cover that real quick before we exit out of this video. Turn the piano section off, come over to synth. And we're going to switch this from the analog synth to our sample library. Really easy way. We can have 3 layers, a mix of, we could have them all samples, some synth. But on layer A, we're going to use the samples, and then we're going to come to our categories. We're going to come over to our wind solo, and we've got a flute right there. Got some other ones in here. You can add some effects to that. Let's go in and add a booth effect. And there you go. That's how you select a flute and start to add some effects and things like that to it. Hope this was helpful. If you've got any questions, throw those down in the comments below. I am going to grab a random program here and play us out of this video. Thanks for watching. Stay inspired and keep making that music.